there's no better education than getting out and seeing the world.
The experiences are what you're going to remember in the long run.
Getting out to see the world has just really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I know a little bit about a lot of random things, and that's because of travel.
We're going to learn so much more and stay up to date with these destinations.
It's going to help us get even better at building group itineraries.
I'm really looking forward to having great conversations about places.
Welcome to Destination Dispatch.
Hello, I'm Jim Delliman with Group Travel Odyssey. And again, thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Destination Dispatch. Before we get started today with our fantastic destination that we have for you, just a couple of reminders. We do want you, if you are watching us on YouTube right now, click that little subscribe button that's down here. If you click that button, and also if you ring the bell, you'll be notified anytime we have new content on our YouTube channel. We also would love it if you would connect with us on LinkedIn and make sure to follow us on Facebook as well. We want you to be involved as much as you possibly can on all of our social media channels. And also on YouTube, it is a great place for you to find past episodes of Destination Dispatch and also our other program, which is called GTO Coach and Go. We also have some other fun videos up there as well. So make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels. Well, today we've got yet another wonderful destination for you. And before we get started, I want to bring on our co-hosts. So please help me welcome our lead navigator and also the host of Business Navigator, Keith Snowd. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Jim.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Happy Thursday. How are you?
Happy Thursday, indeed. I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. I'm getting ready to come see you, actually.
Yes,
so, yeah,
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, I head over to the airport and fly to Orlando. So we're all going to spend several days together planning some wonderful things for the future of Group Travel Odyssey.
Yep,
so
it's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring on also our other co-host, who is the host of the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast, Stevie G. Hey, Stevie.
Hey, how's it going, Jim and Keith?
It's going well. It's going very well. So, we're all going to see each other this weekend, like not just virtually, but actually in person, which is.
I know it's gonna be a nice change of pace.
Yes, it will be. That's the one thing about, we all are working remotely, but it's really great when we can get together. It really makes you appreciate it, I think, a lot more.
We did a great job coordinating outfits because we've got the blue, and Stevie has like some yellow. Like it's all very complimentary of each other.
I know we're in sync. We're all in sync here. So.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Well, I'm very excited about our destination today because it is one of my favorite places. It is an area that is absolutely steeped in history. There's so much to do. I, as you know, am a fan of vineyards and wineries, and so there are quite a few of those in this destination as well. Have either of you been to Charlottesville?
Yes.
Stevie?
Very briefly. Yeah.
Well, you have to go back. And, I can say a ton about it, but I need to bring on somebody who is the actual expert to tell us more about Charlottesville. Please welcome to our screen the sales manager from Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. Teresa Lamb. Teresa, how are you?
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And as I was saying to Keith and Stevie, I absolutely love Charlottesville. One of my favorite places, and there's just so much to do. There's absolutely so much to do. What do you think makes it such a great spot for groups to come?
Well, we are home to three of the nation's founding fathers. We're home to Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe. So that makes us one of the biggest attractions here. And also we are known as the birthplace of American wine. And we're home to the Montpelier Wine Trail that boasts over 40 wineries.
I know several of them. So, and I mean, and like you were saying, it it is very historic. One of the ones I got to go to was Jefferson Winery, and they do tell you a lot about the history of Jefferson's involvement with winemaking and viticulture in the United States. And he was one of the ones saying, hey, the climate's very similar here as it is in France. We should be able to do this. So thank you, Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
To bring us the science of wine. Yes. That's
That led to all these wineries that make us such a great destination.
Absolutely. And you said about the three founding fathers of our country that basically are from that Charlottesville area. So, what other historic places do you say are around that area? Because I know it is an area that is absolutely steeped in history. So, as well as our three founding fathers, what else do we have?
So we also have the University of Virginia, and Jefferson designed that. It is the University Rotunda and the Academical Village and the Monticello, his home, are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So a lot of people don't know that. And you can tour it. And one of the big things we like to tell people is Edgar Allan Poe was a student at UVA, and you can view his room that he stayed in on the West Range and see it as it would have been in his time. And so a lot of student groups love that.
Absolutely. And I did get a chance to do that, the Rotunda and that whole area on the grounds there. And just, oh my gosh, the history behind it and the architecture in that whole area is just astounding. The fact that is such an important part of our history, and it has been maintained and restored and just kept pristine. It is wonderful. You were telling us a little bit about the nomenclature, or the way that they talk about the University of Virginia. It is not a campus.
It is not a campus. It is the grounds at the University of Virginia. And if you say campus, they will correct you, as will most of the locals.
And why is it known as the grounds?
It was when Jefferson designed it. It was the grounds. He wanted to have a village, an academical village, where the students and the professors could learn together on the ground. And they would that is why the pavilions, the setup of the academical village, is where the students would live amongst the professors, so that all times they could be learning from each other.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's you think about, that's a very advanced educational approach for his time, to think about things that way. So speaking of students, do you find that with groups that you have, I'm sure you have a lot of adult groups that come there, stay there, that's their destination, because with so much to do, you could make a multi-day trip out of just your destination. Do you find student groups do the same thing? And, or do they combine with DC? How do your student groups?
A lot of our student groups, we will stay one night. They have the three presidents' homes that they go to are, as I said, Madison's, Monroe's, and then Jefferson's. And so if they're coming down from the DC area, they will actually get to Madison's home first. And so a lot of times we're either a day trip on their way to Williamsburg, or they'll overnight here so that they can get all three homes in. It can be challenging because it does take about 3 to 4 hours for you to do all the things at Monticello that you would need to do. Because it is on a mountaintop, you have to disembark from your bus and get on a bus that Monticello provides, and they take you up in shuttles. And so for student groups, that kind of takes, well, for any group, it kind of adds on to your travel time.
Yeah. But the experience of being up there is,
and the view, you have a 360-degree view of this area. It's absolutely phenomenal.
With the winery. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, not so much for student groups, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Right.
And Teresa, you were saying as well, from up on Monticello, that Jefferson, the way that he had it laid out, they can actually, at certain times of the year, you can actually see down to the University of Virginia.
Yes. So when Jefferson was designing the University of Virginia, he had it set so that he could view the progression of the construction of the rotunda. So if you are on the east side of Monticello, which is on the back of the nickel, you can look over and see the rotunda during, I'd say, during the winter and early spring, before the trees come into bloom.
I think it's so great that your destination is right next to the Blue Ridge Mountains. For anyone that might not be too familiar with that area, can you just talk about how, groups can experience the outdoors right next to Charlottesville?
Sure. So about 30 minutes from here is where the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Shandor National Park meet. We also have the Appalachian Trail runs right behind us on the parkway. So groups can go up there. There are day hikes you can take, half-day hikes. There's camping. For groups, I'd say there's like outdoor eating. So a lot of times they grab a box lunch and they go up there and do one of the trails and just have lunch up there. We're surrounded by mountains. So anywhere you can we are always sending groups to different little mountaintops to have lunches and stuff. And we get them a box lunch. We also have Carter's Mountain. So on the way up to Monticello is Carter's Mountain Orchard, where a lot of groups go and pick peaches and apples and sit up there and have lunch. And they are known for their apple cider donuts, which if you have not had those, I need to send them to you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's its own food group. It really
It
is.
is.
And again, it's another one of those destinations, you're there, you can pick your own peaches, you can do stuff, but the views from that orchard are just, unbelievable. Yeah. Just unbelievable.
So, Teresa, I know that your area is known for a lot of festivals and events throughout the year. Talk about some of those and how they might appeal to groups.
So we are home to the Virginia Film Festival and the Virginia Festival of the Book. A lot of the student groups come for the Virginia Festival of the Book. And then we have a lot of groups that come for the Virginia Film Festival. They are held in different venues throughout the city. Of course, the university partners so well with us to host a lot of those events. And then a lot of that's held on our historic downtown mall, which we haven't mentioned yet, but so we took our city Main Street in the late 70s and bricked it off and made a pedestrian mall. We were one of the first of its kind, and we are still one of the largest in the United States. And on the downtown mall, it's just lined with restaurants and little quaint shops. On the weekends, we have live music. And a lot of our groups get on there and have their lunches and dinners. And as you're there, you can tour the historic Courthouse, which Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe practice law in.
Wow. That's a lot going on.
It is truly, it is one of the most walkable downtown areas that I think I've ever been to. And like you said, there's always something going on. The thing that I found amazing was the buzz. It's just buzzing with energy all the time, no matter whether you go in the middle of the day or late at evening, you go have dinner somewhere, there are always people out walking and always friendly people out walking, which is just, it is amazing. I think that mall area is one of the biggest selling points, I think, that downtown Charlottesville actually has. Yes. Phenomenal.
And we were talking about newer things for our groups. So right above, or if you say about, half a mile from our mall, they actually took our old historic Monticello dairy building that used to process dairy for the area. And they have made that into a food hall. And we are one of the first of its kind on the East Coast. It's called the Dairy Market Food Hall. And that's right now they have about 18 little restaurants in there, and you sort of get your food, and it's a communal eating area. So that's been a big draw for our groups lately too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially your student groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be a great place to take a student group. So
yeah.
Absolutely.
I know that a lot of travel planners, one of the questions they always ask is, what about hotels? So talk about your group-friendly hotels in your area, and share a little bit about that.
We have about over 3,800 rooms. Most of our hotels are prepared for groups. Being the destination that we have always been, as hotels are built, they are prepared for groups. Every hotel is split about, in their rooms, is split about 50-50 with double beds to the singles. We have about 34 4 hotels. We have 2 new convention centers coming that the university is building, which are going to have hotels. One of them is going to be a Kempton hotel. So we're really excited about that. A new 199 rooms at the Darden School of Business. I think all of our hotels they strive off the group business, and so they're prepared for it.
Teresa, how about hidden gems? Any hidden gems that, groups may not be aware of or may want to throw on their itinerary that they might not know about that you would suggest that, they add?
Sure. So one of them I would say is the Lewis and Clark Exploratory Center. So Meriwether Lewis is from this area. His family owned land, and they have now dedicated that little land and have the Lewis and Clark Exploratory Center, where they actually have life-size replicas of the boat that Lewis and Clark used. And it's a hands-on experience. So when you go there, they give you a tour and kind of tell you about the boats. And then you get to sort of trap or track as Lewis and Clark would have done as they were out exploring the Wild West at the time. And then we tell the groups if they're going to do that. We also, because Lewis and Clark explored the West for Jefferson, Monroe negotiated the Louisiana Purchase for Jefferson. And so we tie that in and we ask Highland with the groups, whether it's students or adults, if they let me know. And then Highland will focus their time and the tour there, speaking on what Monroe did for the United States, or for us to gain the Louisiana Purchase, making us the United States.
That's brilliant. I mean, and there are a lot of things that, as we've said, there's so much to do that there are a lot of things for people to add to just do something different or complete an itinerary. So that's just phenomenal. What are some of the trends that you're seeing for the bringing back of the groups and travel building back up again after this pandemic? What kind of trends are you seeing happening in the Charlottesville area?
We are a big wedding destination, and so we do have to steer our groups away from certain times. Unfortunately, as you asked earlier about coming from DC, sometimes we have to say, we want you here and please come see all these things, but you're probably going to have a better chance of getting rooms in Williamsburg, only because they choose to try to come on a weekend, it's not going to happen. But we are trying to get groups to come in the winter and in the early part of spring, because that is when we are most open and you can enjoy it, and we can give a better rate then.
Yeah. And that's the thing, Charlottesville is a 12 months out of the year destination. It is not something that just is spring and summer or summer and fall. So there's plenty to do year round.
Yes.
And, I would be remiss if one of us didn't ask you about food.
Right.
If you have wine, you have to have food. So talk about food.
500 restaurants in the Charlottesville Albemarle area.
Wow.
Did you say 500?
500.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yes. So there's definitely enough food here for everybody. And as you said, a lot of the wineries partner with a lot of the local chefs so that they can display their wine and their food together. That's really big here. A lot of farm to table here is what we're known for. A lot of the chefs work at the wineries to showcase their food at the wineries. And we've really gotten into food trucks now. So a lot of the food trucks are out at the wineries.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, do you have plenty of if you had a large group, do you have options for a large group for restaurants?
Yes. So we have our biggest one, and we haven't talked about, is Mickey Tavern. But Mickey Tavern only offers midday Southern fare. So it's open every day from 11:30 to 3. And I'll just give you a little history. So Mickey Tavern was a tavern. It's a tavern that's been in use for over 200 years. It was located about 30 miles from where it is now. And when they decided to open Monticello as a tourist destination in the late 20s, early 30s, this lady got the bright idea that she was going to have that tavern moved up on the way to Monticello. So the original part of the tavern was moved. It's on its way to Monticello. They built onto it. And so it is a destination attraction onto its own. We include it almost in everything. And they serve a buffet every day, fried chicken, green beans, just good Southern fare. They were voted Virginia's 2020 Restaurant of the Year.
Wow.
Yes. And they are so used to accommodating groups that they can run the groups through this, and it's set up. They have so much seating. Every 15 minutes, they can get a group in and out.
Yeah. And I have to say, that's kind of a regular stop when I've gone, and some of the best fried chicken that I think I've ever had in my life. So
that's a big statement, Jim, because I know you've been a lot of places. So
yeah, but I mean, honestly, it is a destination. It is definitely a destination. So,
and I will say they can do all the groups and at the same time take all the individual travelers, and you'd never know the difference. You'd never even feel like you were. Everybody serves in the attire of that period attire, and it is. I mean, you step back into time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to continue this conversation, but first we're going to take a very quick break to hear from some of our partners.
Group Travel Odyssey would like to take a moment to thank our amazing partners, including Book My Group, Travel Advocates, We Travel, Broadway Inbound, and Fly My Group. These partnerships help make business without boundaries possible, and we encourage our viewers to learn more about these wonderful companies. Now, back to Destination Dispatch.
Okay, so now what we would like to do, we're going to continue, and I'm going to turn this over to Teresa and Keith and have them take all of us through a sample itinerary. So, Keith, take it away.
Great. So, Teresa has provided us with, I believe this is your profile sheet, is it not?
Yes, it is.
The best part about this is we have loaded this into GTO. So this itinerary, when you search for Charlottesville, actually will come up as a template that you can copy and use to make a trip when you go to template trips. So I'm going to let Teresa kind of walk us through this. It actually puts in order kind of a nice itinerary to talk about some of the things that we've already been talking about, but to show kind of how the flow would work for a group visiting Charlottesville. So Teresa, let's talk about day one and starting the tour at the, kind of a really amazing place to start because you get a bird's eye view of everything around you.
Correct. So again, we ask you to allow for about 3 to 4 hours at Monticello, which is why we have you starting there. So you go to Monticello. It's the house tour is about 45 minutes, and then you tour the ground yourself. It is so much to see on the grounds. And so you need to allot at least three hours at the minimum. When you leave there, you're going to come back down off the mountain, as we say, and you're going to eat at Mickey Tavern, like we were just talking about. And then from there, Mickey Tavern, you would allot for your group about an hour, hour and a half, because you want to give your time to look around the little shops. They have souvenir shops there, an old mill you can look in. Then you're actually going to go back up the mountain, and you're going to tour Highland, which is James Monroe's home. And then we suggest in the evening, after you do Highland, you'll have a little time before dinner that you guys could stop at a winery. There's several wineries right in that area. Jefferson Vineyards is right there. Keswick Vineyards is near there. So that'll give you day one. And then for dinner, we have so many dining options, but we will usually tell people if you've eaten at Mickey Tavern for lunch, you're going to want to have a light fare for dinner.
Yes. Absolutely. Get some wine and have something light before you move on to the next day. That's a pretty power-packed day considering you're visiting 2 presidents in one day.
Yes.
So that's you probably would need to end that day with some wine. Let's talk about day 2 and the University of Virginia grounds, right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to get that right. I don't want to be chastised here.
Right. So we have you starting your day at the University Rotunda in the Academic Village. The students offer tours when they are in school. So that would be August through about May, late April. The students will actually offer tours of the Rotunda and the Academic Village. And then during the summer, we recommend a local tour guide, Mr. Rick Britton, and he gives phenomenal tours of that. And then next to the Rotunda, one of our newest, and I don't want to say attractions, but something that is very near and dear to our hearts, is the Memorial to the Enslaved Laborers at UVA. This is a new memorial that UVA has put together honoring the men and women that built UVA, that built Jefferson's village and built his home. And so it's right next to the Rotunda, and we suggest groups walk over there and they give tours of that. That is phenomenal. Then we're going to have you go down to our new dairy market, our new food hall, and have lunch. And then from there, we're going to take you over to the Jefferson School for African American Heritage. The Jefferson School for African American Heritage is the city's first school for Black students that went through high school. It was founded in the late 1800s, and they do a great job of telling the story of the descendants of Charlottesville, a lot of which we believe came from Jefferson, Monroe, and Madison. And then we're going to take you from there over to the Lewis and Clark Exploratory Center, and your group can, again, have that hands-on experience, learn all about how Lewis and Clark went out on the Wild West on these boats that until you see them, you can't even believe that they would have taken them out there and that everything worked out as well as it did.
It's interesting to me that as you talk through the itinerary, the itinerary is, and it's fantastic. It kind of weaves a story. You talk about the Jefferson School and how it's related to other things in the itinerary and the memorial to the enslaved laborers. And you talked about earlier about how Jefferson had Monticello built and put so that he could see UVA being built, the Rotunda. So it's interesting how all of these things weave together as you're building this itinerary and putting the pieces, the blocks together. That's a really fascinating part. You don't get that in a lot of places with history, that you get to paste together that itinerary. So it's a really brilliant thing. And then you throw Lewis and Clark in there and you really take it over the top. Talk about day 3 here.
So day 3, we start off with like our art day. I was remiss to say that we do have the Kluge-Ruhe Aboriginal Art Museum. It is the only museum outside of Australia dedicated to the exhibition of study of Indigenous Australian art. We are so fortunate to have that here.
Wow. How did that, I have to stop here and ask, how did that come to be? That's an interesting.
So Miss Kluge is a local known, maybe, I don't know, heroine we would call her. I don't know, like a lady, she enjoyed Australian art, enjoyed this Aboriginal art, and she collected it, and her passing dedicated the art to UVA, and UVA has now opened the Kluge-Ruhe Aboriginal Art Museum.
Wow, that's really cool. Like it's something very unique and different that you would not expect when you're coming to the area. So that's really a step outside of the norm. That's fantastic.
And I think we're blessed to have UVA. When you have a school like UVA in your, city, they're so involved not only in the history, but in looking forward and stuff in the arts. It's such a major school. And so for us, we're so blessed because they can add these unique little things to the area that other areas wouldn't have because they don't have the school of this history.
Right.
Wow.
So, and then we're going to the historic courthouse, which I think you mentioned before.
Yes. And I will say, so Jefferson and Madison and Monroe practice law there. And we like to tell people, and the courthouse will tell you itself, it wasn't like they were down there and it was like law and order. They basically did their filings there. As we know, they were all 3 pretty, businessmen, if you will, but that's where they did their filings and stuff like that. But they did actually practice law there, and the courthouse does have some of the documents.
So people shouldn't walk into the courthouse expecting to hear that law and order sound. But
and they should probably make sure the court is not in session because it's still attached to the new court.
That's great. That's great.
And that courthouse is right there adjacent. Our historic court square is adjacent to the downtown mall that we mentioned. And then we're going to take you out to Montpelier. So Montpelier is about 30 miles north of us. That's James Madison's home, and it is an experience to itself. I think a lot of people, Madison, so Monticello is on the top of the mountain, so you get this great view. And Madison's, you think, oh, it's, you know, it's on flat land. But I was telling you guys, when you stand on his porch, as you see there, and they tell you this, you see out, and where we know there's all the city around it, you don't see that from his porch. And they remind you to take a moment and stand there and think, what were these guys looking at? The wild, wild west. And what was out there? Nobody knew. Now we know, you know, West Virginia's out there, and, you know, yeah. But in their time, you do get to step back and just, you're in a part of history, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's, and what a house to stand and look from, you know, I mean, that's quite a place. I want to scroll down here because, first of all, your profile sheet is amazing. Okay.
Thank you.
Having looked at several profile sheets, thank you. But I wanted to share some of these other photographs because it's really got some wonderful imagery on it. Obviously, my favorite being this one right here of this. I believe that's the sunset, is it not?
It is. And that is a view from what we call Humpback Rocks. And that is one of those one-day little hikes you can take. Your group can park and take a little hike up there.
And so I would take it that this is the dorm room that you were talking about?
That is Edgar Allan Poe's room.
Wow.
Yes. And then what do we have here?
And that's the Jefferson School for African American History.
Oh, wonderful. Yep. That's great. And we'll work our way to the right.
That is Mickey Tavern.
That's what I thought. Yep. And then
that is a view from one of our many wineries, and that's Mount Ida Winery.
It's a beautiful view. I could drink some wine right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then here?
And that is looking down on Carter's Mountain. Okay. That is the orchard that you're seeing there. And if you see the little bitty building down to the, I guess it's my left. Yep. You can, every Thursdays and Wednesdays, they do Wine Down Wednesdays. They have live music. And every Thursdays, they have sunset on Carter's Mountain. And you can go up there and take your own lawn chair, picnic blanket, sit down, have some wine, some ale from some of our local cideries, and watch the sunset from atop Carter's Mountain. That's
fantastic. Well, and there's some additional information down here. Some of those festivals and events that Teresa was talking about, really great, obviously, contact information. This also, just so that everybody is aware, is saved under the record in Supplier Manager under the attachments. This document, you can access it and look at it. Anybody has access to it. But it's just a supplement to the itinerary that is already loaded into the system. So you don't have to do any of that research. It's already all there, which is fantastic. So that's really a fantastic look at everything, Teresa. I really appreciate you sharing, and thank you for sharing this wonderful document, including my favorite thing. I love it when you have a map. So thank you for having a map so that we can see where you are. I know that sounds like a simple thing, and I know it makes me old, Stevie G. So,
and I should have mentioned, I failed to mention, well, it had been closed because of COVID. So, but it's open back up. We're very excited. We have the McCormick Observatory. The University of Virginia has that, and on the first and third Fridays of every month, you can go up and stargaze to the McCormick Observatory. They will take groups. You just have to plan it in advance. But they just reopened the week of May 3rd. So we're very excited about that.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And I'm sure the views are amazing because with all of those dark mountains around there, it is, I'm sure, full of stars. So, oh, fantastic.
Yeah. You know, every time we have one of these episodes, I have another vacation to plan.
Please do. Come let me show you this wonderful area.
And next time I come, I'm giving you a phone.
Oh, please. Then I can take you to the hidden little restaurants that we have. And
Oh, I want on that tour. So when is that happening? Is it restaurant winery? Is that how we do the tour, or how, you know?
No, we typically do winery, then restaurant. Because you are out, like they are close and they're outside of downtown, and then you have to get downtown to all the restaurants.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. You got to be.
You'll be super hungry by then. So
Right.
Yeah, you got to make sure your logistics are right. So I mean,
Right.
Oh gosh, Teresa, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. And as we've said, we know that there's even more that people can find out about Charlottesville. If they wanted to find out more, where should they go?
Visit charlottesville.org. That's our website. It is full of information because it is so much here to offer.
Yeah. And I have to say, you have a phenomenal website. That
thank
website
you.
It's truly amazing. So other places take note. Take a look at that website. It's really fantastic.
Yep.
So thank you so much. And we have we've been putting your email address and stuff like that up as well. So thank you for sharing your afternoon with us and actually making us long to get back to Charlottesville, Virginia again. And you'll be hearing from us very soon, I'm sure.
Oh, I would love to host you guys. We'd love to host everybody. We have so much to offer. And any of the groups that if they have any questions or need any direction, any help, feel free to reach out to me.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.
So, gentlemen, now we need to plan yet another trip. So we're gonna
have to do like a 75-day tour.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like a little road trip to everything we've covered.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like how you call it a little road trip.
I know, really. Yeah. Once we close out the season of Destination Dispatch, then we have to get on the road and go from destination to destination. But I mean, there are some that we're going to have to spend a little more time in, and I think Charlottesville's one. Again, 40 wineries. Come on, we're going to have to spend a little bit of time there. So
that's exactly just a little. Yeah.
Well, just remember, everybody, that Destination Dispatch comes up on Thursdays every week. So Thursdays at 2:00, make sure to join us here again for Destination Dispatch. Also, we have another media show called GTO Coach and Go. GTO Coach and Go for our users is a coaching session where we get together with some of the experts from our team that show you some of the updates and some of the features of the GTO system. And that is on Tuesdays at 2:00. Again, if you can't make it live, you can watch all of these on our YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get access to all of those videos as well. Keith, if they want to get more information about Group Travel Odyssey or set up a demo, what can they do?
Well, they can reach out to me at keith@gtonetwork.com. They can go to grouptraveleodyssey.com. They can reach out to Jim. They can reach out to Stevie G. Anybody on the team would be happy to help you with information about Group Travel Odyssey and learn what we can do to help your business.
That's fantastic. And Stevie, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and find Destinations Beyond Expectations?
Sure. Destinations Beyond Expectations is the podcast designed for students of travel. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you can get your podcasts. And it's a great way to learn about different destinations on the map, sort of like what we're doing here. You can also visit the website dbetravel.com. We have new episodes every Friday. Tomorrow, we're learning a little bit about Little Rock and how you can spend your time there. So go check out the podcast, and I look forward to sharing future episodes with everyone.
So wait, I have to step in here and say, you said sort of like we're doing here, but Stevie G, you have your own unique style on presenting a destination. So I'm not going to let you let that ride. I'm going to say, you got to listen to know. So
thank you. Yeah, it's great. I have great guests on the show, travel enthusiasts who know a lot about the destination that we cover. We talk to destination specialists here, and it's just great chatting with different people who experience destinations in different ways and kind of get their take on it and how they might suggest that you spend your time there. So I really enjoy talking to folks like that.
I would say the difference is we're talking to people that are selling a destination, and in many cases, you're talking to people who have an immense experience, like they've actually gone as a tourist and things like that in many cases. So it's a much different perspective.
Yeah.
So I just had to step in and say that because I'm,
He's a fan.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow live in person.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we don't have any wineries to take you to, so.
Oh, well. We'll find something to do, I'm sure. So, and for everybody else out there, that's all we have for you today. Please make sure to join us again next week for another episode of Destination Dispatch.
Thank you for watching this episode of Destination Dispatch. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and be sure to check out more of our media, including GTO Coach and Go and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.